I love my business, but I don't like running it. Nobody talks about this part of entrepreneurship. You've built a business that you love, everybody's looking at you like you've made it, and you're great at what you do, and you genuinely love it. But behind the scenes, it's like, why do I dread half the things that are on my calendar? The thought of all the things on my to-do list makes me not even want to get out of bed. And it feels like you're working harder than ever, but you're enjoying everything less. If this is resonating with you, you're not the only one. This is actually a real phenomenon that affects so many entrepreneurs, so many business owners, that it has a name. It is called the founder's gap. This is when a founder's strengths, interests, and capacity no longer align with what the business actually needs in order to achieve growth and scale. And it can show up and manifest in a lot of different ways, but one of the key ways that we're going to be talking about today is when, as the CEO of your business, as the founder, as the person who is in charge of it all, you absolutely love the mission, you love the impact, and you love the money, but you hate the day-to-day. So if the statement, I love my business, but I hate running it, is resonating with you, stick around, because in this video, we're gonna unpack what that really means, why there's so much friction that you're feeling, but most importantly, what to do about it. Hit that like button and let's get right into it. Let's just start off by talking about why this phenomenon is so common that it actually has a term coined for it. So let's take it back. The reality is a lot of people who start businesses, especially those who have service-based businesses, you often start off in your zone of genius. You are somebody who is a technician or a creative. You do a thing or you are passionate about a thing. And when you're starting off your business, you know more than anybody that it requires you to wear multiple hats. So yes, you have to do the marketing, you have to do the sales, you have to do the finances, but you also get to continue doing the thing that you're so interested in, the thing that you're passionate about, what really lights you up. So whether that thing is around designing and being a creative entrepreneur, or doing hair and making people feel better about themselves, or coaching or consulting, or whatever it is, ultimately day one, you are the key person who is delivering that service that you're passionate about and that you enjoy and like doing. But as your business grows and gets bigger, then your role in it shifts. You shift from the operator, the person who's actually delivering the service, the thing that you built the whole business around and are passionate about. And instead, you now have to take a different seat. Typically a higher seat, a more strategic seat, whether it means you are now a manager, and I think above all, it's the fact that you are now the CEO. This is something I talk a lot about in this channel, how people really struggle to step into their CEO energy, and it really is necessary for growth and scale. So if you want to learn more about that, I will link some masterclasses that I have above and down below in the description box so you can check out those. But here's the thing, a more strategic position in your business means that your day-to-day looks completely different. Whereas maybe in your first year or two of business, you were spending most of your days just working directly with clients and serving clients. But now maybe your role looks more like reviewing payroll and planning out your finances for the next year, or really thinking about what systems or tools you need in your business in order to make things better for customers and make it easier for you or your employees. You can see how this is now a very different role and day-to-day reality than what you started off doing. And people who find themselves in this position, it can typically look like and feel like you're making great money, but you're completely disorganized. Or you have tools in your business, maybe you have way too many tools that you have access to, but you don't actually have the clarity on what it is you're trying to achieve with all of these tools. Or maybe you don't have any tools, you don't have any systems because you are just so overwhelmed that you don't have the time to actually go and do the strategic work and implement these things, which is very closely related to 3 of the main reasons why people have that feeling of not liking running their business. 3 really common themes that tend to come up for people in this position over and over and over again is 1, operational chaos. So that's exactly what I just mentioned to you guys about feeling completely disorganized, feeling completely overwhelmed. And I often use this word chaos because if you've been here, you know that's what it feels like. So this often looks like you don't actually have any systems, you don't have any processes, you don't have the right tools. You're usually operating off of just sheer willpower and brute force of willing to grind and get things done. And that is not a great place to be in because it doesn't set anybody up for success. It doesn't set you up for success. It doesn't set anybody who you would be bringing into your business up for success. And honestly, it's not going to provide the best client experience possible for those people that you're actually providing the service for. The second reason why people find themselves in a position where they don't actually like running the business that they've built is a misalignment in terms of their role. This is what I talked about earlier in terms of you started off as an operator, you started off as somebody who loved doing a thing, whether that's doing hair or being a lawyer, whatever it is. But now the business has just grown so much that you're stuck doing all of these things that are not your zone of genius and that you just really might not have the skills for. And one of those skills, guys, that you can't escape is leadership. A lot of people jump into something, start a business because they're passionate about that zone of genius, but they themselves might not have the skills that are required in order to take them to the next level. And I'm telling you guys, one of those very early skills that you will see is leadership. And people might feel like, oh, it's not the most important skill for me because I don't have any employees in my business, but leadership also refers to just your ability to lead the business, even if you're the only person in your business. You have to think of yourself as the captain who is steering the ship. Whether people are on that ship with you or not, either way, it needs to head to the port, it needs to dock, right? So you have to have the skills that are required in order to navigate the business. So being in a place where you're constantly having to learn something new, where you are having to develop so many new skills at one time, some of them you might be working towards and getting good at, and some of them maybe you're not so good at, that is so exhausting and mentally draining. And if you add on to that the organizational chaos that might exist in your business, that leads to reason 3 why a lot of people find themselves not enjoying the business that they're running, which is lack of structure, systems, and boundaries. It's one thing to feel like everything is chaotic when you're at work, right? When you are there in the building, delivering services or online, operating virtually, and things are a garbage fire for 8, 9, 10 hours. But what eventually happens when you have the organizational chaos and the misalignment with your role is that ultimately it ends up putting you in a system where there's just no structure and there's just no boundaries. So now, because you're doing things you're not really good at, clients want your services, but there's just not enough of you to go around. This is when it becomes you have no personal life. And there literally becomes zero boundaries between work and your business and real life. And here's the thing, we have to remember that most oftentimes people start their businesses because they want more freedom in their life. And freedom and flexibility can look different for everybody. A lot of the times when you're doing what you love, you actually don't even mind working more, but it's just not sustainable. And the other component is if you are your business, if you're the only person in your business, or if you have a small team, what happens when you burn out? That's what the lack of structure and boundaries ends up causing, right? It ends up causing burnout. You'll find yourself getting sick more than you've ever gotten sick before in your life. And you get to a point where you're just reacting. You can never think ahead. You can never be proactive. You are constantly just putting out the fires around you because you just don't have the systems to support you. If any of this is resonating with you, drop a like down below because we are now going to talk about how to reframe this. The first step is reframing the problem. You don't hate your business. You hate the way it's set up. I always say the things that are going to take you from your first year in business or 0 to 1K in business are not the things that are going to carry you beyond that, right? Are not the things that are going to carry you to 5 years in business or 7 figures in business. You have to start doing things differently, but that's really hard for most people because they never actually built their business with such a long-term view in mind. Some people may have never even thought that they would get this far, right? Or they dreamed of having these problems one day. But now that you have them, you realize it's not that fun, and most importantly, it's just not sustainable. You can't keep operating this way. The way that I think about it is the enemy is not your business. It's just the vehicle that you're currently using to drive your business no longer suits you, right? You need an update, you need an upgrade. It's time for something that's better aligned with this point in your life. Okay, I feel like I'm using way too many transportation metaphors for you guys. Like 1 minute you're in a boat, the next minute you're in a car, but you guys get what I'm trying to say. Overall, I'm just trying to say that there is still so much opportunity for you to do things differently if you're looking to do things differently. However, the one thing that you cannot escape when it comes to making this change is the leadership mindset that you need in order to steer the ship. No, but seriously, you're not an employee in your business. You're the CEO. You know, where you decide to take this business is completely up to you. And there are so many resources that I have provided on this channel. I've given you guys so many 30-minute plus masterclasses that I will link above and down below. If you feel like you are ready to get started and create a new chapter for yourself where you can have more peace, more profitability, more freedom, and more flexibility. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to hit that like button down below, and also don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.